Speed 2 Cruise Control can be included in almost any list with a negative slant. It was a disaster in every way. It ruined the action franchise's enormous potential, wasted absurd amounts of money, and featured one of the worst lead actor replacements in history. If the movie had only one or two of the problems mentioned, the studio likely would have avoided such a high-profile failure. But with the full set, Speed 2 was doomed. When 20th Century Fox announced the sequel to its wildly successful movie Speed, everyone in Hollywood believed that the studio was about to get another profitable action franchise. There were no signs of impending trouble. Speed's potential was so obvious that the studio was granted permission to use the script intended for the Die Hard series. The studio's decision was understandable. The first, second, and third Die Hard movies grossed $140 million, $240 million, and $360 million at the box office, respectively. In turn, the first Speed made $350 million with a $30 million budget. And this was back in 1994. The third Die Hard grossed $360 million in 1995 on a budget of $100 million. To put it simply, the third John McClane film made the studio significantly less money. However, there was a small problem with the script. An ocean liner would be a suitable setting for the Die Hard franchise, which often used confined spaces. But using it in a movie called Speed was a strange decision. The studio tried to find another location, but had no luck with that. At that time, there was a new movie out with Steven Seagal fighting villains in a fast-moving train. Around the same time, Executive Decisions starring Kurt Russell came out, in which he rid a plane of terrorists. Moreover, as the sequel to Speed was being made, 3 more movies were in the works: Turbulence, Con Air, and Air Force One. After thinking everything over, the studio management settled on the ship. They gave the first Speed director, Jan de Bont, full creative control and promised to spare no expense on the future movie. The studio actually kept this last promise. The first and probably the main problem appeared out of nowhere. The movie had to go without Keanu Reeves in the lead role. It is widely believed that Keanu rejected Speed 2 to go on tour with his band Dogstar. But this is not true, which is quite easy to check. While Speed 2 was being filmed, Reeves was busy working on The Devil's Advocate. Only after that did he go on tour. Reeves claims he didn't mind starring in Speed 2, but its script was constantly changing, and nobody knew when filming would finally begin. At that moment, he discovered the script for The Devil's Advocate and really liked it. Reeves didn't want the role to go to someone else and quickly signed the contract. According to the actor, 20th Century Fox simply didn't want to postpone filming. They got mad at him and rewrote the script to replace his character. When Reeves left, Sandra Bullock considered quitting the project as well. The studio couldn't afford to lose the actress, so they offered her the highest fee she had ever received. Bullock also secured a promise from the studio to fund her project, Hope Floats, which she had been unsuccessfully pitching to different studios for a while. As a result, to secure Bullock for the sequel to Speed, 20th Century Fox had to pay her $11 million for the role, another $11 million for the lead role in Hope Floats, and $19 million for its production. Some money was also spent on the movie's promotion campaign. But even with Bullock on board, the Speed sequel's problems continued to spiral out of control. Knowing that Reeves wouldn't be involved, all the actors started declining offers to star in the project. The studio really wanted to cast Matthew McConaughey and offered him $4 million, his highest fee at the time. However, Matthew turned down the offer and instead chose to work on Amistad with Steven Spielberg for just $1 million. The film, by the way, didn't do well either. Casting an actor to play the villain was even more difficult. Half of Hollywood turned down the role. Gary Oldman came the closest to signing the contract, but he ultimately declined, opting for Air Force One instead. In the end, William Dafoe became the main villain, and Jason Patric was cast as the lead male. Patrick later claimed that the evil studio deceived him, causing him to get into this mess and ruin his entire career. According to the actor, he didn't like the script, and made numerous changes that the studio promised to include in its final version. When he arrived for filming a few months later, he realized his changes weren't in the script. Moreover, its new amendments made things even worse. But it was too late to abandon the project. Jason received $4.5 million for his role. This was 3 times his previous highest fee, which he received for Geronimo in 1993. Filming took 6 weeks longer than expected, resulting in an additional $20 million in production costs. When the film's production was finished, Jan de Bont sent its rough cut to the studio. When the test group saw that version, it turned out that no one liked it. Furthermore, the test cut for Speed 2 was rumored to be the worst in 20th Century Fox history. The script was quickly revised, and Speed 2 was sent for additional filming. This lasted over a month and cost another $20 million. As a result, a $100 million movie turned into a $140 million movie. But the story didn't end there. The changes required expensive special effects. Some of the existing special effects had to be removed, along with scenes that were no longer needed. What's funny is that the test group didn't like the new version of Speed 2 either. The studio then started cutting the film, discarding some of the new footage. And yes, the movie required additional filming again. The $160 million movie released on June 13, 1997, only made $48 million at the box office. Waterworld's resounding box office failure in 1995 quickly paled in comparison. Everyone involved in the production immediately began avoiding any mention of it. Sandra Bullock once described Speed 2 as the biggest piece of crap ever made. Bont, the film's director, blamed all the problems on 20th Century Fox. He said the studio chose the worst possible script, kept rushing him, and didn't let him make any changes to that disaster. Worldwide, Speed 2 Cruise Control grossed another $115 million, but that wasn't enough to save it from failure. According to The Hollywood Reporter, 20th Century Fox lost around $120 to $150 million on Speed 2, making it one of the biggest flops of the 90s. Jason Patric's career was instantly over. Bont's career also took a painful hit. After the failure, in addition to his Speed and Twister, he also directed The Haunting and Lara Croft Tomb Raider: The Cradle of Life. After Lara Croft's sequel failed, he quit filmmaking and never directed again. Sandra Bullock was the only one who remained unscathed. And of course, the troubles didn't reach Keanu Reeves, who wasn't involved in the PR campaign for Speed 2. He was then busy choosing the next project to work on after The Devil's Advocate. That project was The Matrix, which Will Smith almost got to be a part of instead. Thank you so much for watching, subscribe, and stay tuned.